All right, guys, so the time has finally come to actually start doing more stuff with the BMW, or as I affectionately named it, Problem Child, back in like 2015. So once again, apologies for the lack of videos. I've been in the middle of the ocean. So we got the engine, obviously, it's over there. Probably gonna try getting that running here in the next couple of weeks. Starting to get cold out here in Virginia again, so we'll see what happens. So before we can mount that engine though, the thing I do have to do, aside from clean everything up, we gotta get some like solid metal piece or something, like a solid metal aluminum or solid aluminum puck to put in here and to fill this and then weld it up so that way I can drill a hole in it and I can use a hockey puck as a like a rubber isolator, essentially, so it's not solid mounted to the frame. But then I can use that and I can take one of these engine mounts and put it right here and then have the engine sit as low as it can inside here. This started life as an LM7. It's a 5.3 iron block. You can kind of see it right there a little bit. But it's been bored and stroked to a 383. Got an ATI super damper on here. This is just a stock water pump. I'll be getting an electric one and going remote in the future, but this was just, you know, it was cheap and it was available. These are Sage 2.5 heads from Texas Speed from an LS6. I think they got a 58cc compression chamber. I've got 15cc dish, Wiseco pistons, Texas Speed HPM rods, Jessel, or not Jessel, got a Crower shaft rocker setup. This is obviously just a Jegs intake manifold. These are 42-pound injectors and then 102 millimeter throttle body. Hopefully this will make about 500 horsepower. I don't think it's going to make 500. Probably make like 450. All right, guys. So it's been a couple days. So these aluminum pucks came in. As you can see, they fill in the hole rather nicely on the subframe. Just kind of sit right there. So that's all fine and well. However, there's one major problem. The subframe is made of aluminum. These pucks also made of aluminum, but I don't know how to weld aluminum. It's been a couple days. I was trying to do the aluminum practice welds, but it didn't go super well. Setup was kind of messed up. Kind of started working there, but then it can't really see it, but it's like cracked along here. And then I tried to see if I can cut the plate in half using the arc. So, and I ran out of argon. So now I'm going to try to get this thing set up, try to get it running. So I've got this LS-E90 alternator mounting kit. Well, I got the entire accessory drive, but I don't know how much this is actually going to work because these are aftermarket heads, and these are these valve covers are about a ½ inch taller than stock because once again I am running shaft rockers. So got my alternator right here. I don't remember what brand it is. I'm pretty sure it's a 220 amp alternator. So we're gonna try and get this set up. It's gonna be kind of difficult to do by myself, but you know, just like with everything else, we'll see what happens. Right, to be honest, I have no idea how I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna figure this out, and then I'll get back to you once I kind of got it. All right, so I kind of got it figured out, but we got a couple of problems. First of all, you'll notice that these bolts are sticking out about 2 inches. So, yeah, that's not good. The belt is definitely going to hit those. Secondly, these holes here don't line up just quite right. So I've only got 2 bolts holding this alternator in right now, which is fine. I can just take like a little drill bit, make this slightly wider. I don't know where I'm going to put this tensioner pulley, but because these are sticking out so far, what I might be able to do is just replace one with the tensioner, and that might give me the alignment, well, for this anyway, and then I don't have to deal with one of these bolts. Let me try that real quick. All right, so I've got a temporary solution. Once again, I can't iterate temporary enough, but I just got a bunch of spacers on there, take up the slack between this bolt and the back. At first I didn't think it was working because this kit came with 2 different size spacers. So this one is about a 1/4 inch shorter than the other one. So I kept thinking that this was like pulling out for some reason, but I was just using the wrong one. So I got the appropriate spacer on there. So now all 3 of these are in line. You can kind of see that a little bit. Yeah, so they're all in line with each other, which means now I can put a belt on there, probably bring it up, down, around, or something. I think I still need like an idler pulley, or not an idler pulley, like a tension pulley, which I might put probably right about here. What I might do in the future, at least with the next version, is take this and then bring it down here. But yeah, that's a problem for future me. So I've got everything that I need to get this engine running. It's all inside, stacked up in my room. What I might do is put the flywheel on and then get the starter bolted up. And then after that, probably gonna have to do some welding because I need to mount the oil tank somewhere and also the headers. Don't really know how I plan on doing that. I think for the oil tank though, I might just weld like a piece coming off of here and then coming up, just so it's kind of over here, it's off to the side. And then that'll allow me to kind of route the hoses. I would like to install the engine, but once again, I don't know how to weld aluminum, so I can't really install it at the moment. Getting this thing running is not going to be cheap. All right, guys, I didn't really know what to do next, so I put the thermostat housing in, and then I went, grabbed a whiteboard, and then I kind of wrote down a bunch of different stuff that we got to do. So get Problem Child running. That is, this car's name is Problem Child. So first we got to do the accessory drive. So obviously I've already done the alternator and the idler. Still need to get a tensioner. To do the bell housing, I need to attach the flywheel and then the starter to the bell housing, which, like I mentioned, I have all 3 of those. They're just kind of laying around in various places. The bell housing is actually right there. So I got to attach those, and then got to do the oil system. So we got to make that oil tank bracket. We got to plumb everything, and I got to find out how to do the turbo stage bypass. Because if I haven't mentioned it already, this engine is on a dry sump. So it's got a 4-stage dry sump, and that last stage is for a turbo, which once again I don't have. Correction, I do have. I just don't have the right size turbo for this application. So I need to get another turbo. But for right now, I'm just gonna bypass it. We'll just run it NA for a little bit, try and figure out how to do that. Then we got to do all the gross electrical stuff. I hate electricity. So we're gonna do the wiring harness, which is gonna include all of the ignition stuff. Then I got to do the base tune on the ECU and update. So I've had it for 2 years. It's never been plugged in, so I'd imagine there's an update available. Then I got to program the screen so I can actually see what's going on there. Then I got a bunch of different miscellaneous stuff. So I got to attach the exhaust headers. Got to do an intake filter, which I'm not really super worried about. I got to weld these aluminum pucks to the subframe, which I might just have somebody else do, because once again, I don't know how to weld aluminum. I got to remove the roof, which I'm not going to do quite yet, because it's holding a lot of the structure until the cage gets here. I'm going to add that real quick. Cage install. Then I got to build the front suspension. So I'm still looking for ball joints, because if you weren't aware, I'm converting this to a wide 5 setup, because I want to kind of do like a NASCAR themed thing. Anyway, so got to build a front suspension. So I'm looking for ball joints, and then once I have those, get a bunch of steel tubing, and then we can just kind of start mocking that up. And then I need a throw out bearing, which I should probably put over here, but it's whatever. We got to plumb the coolant system. And then obviously install the cage. So that's kind of the big things that we got to go. There's a lot of little things here and there that I got to do. So I'm not even going to put on here. But for right now, it's starting to get dark out. It's starting to get pretty cold here in Virginia. So I'm going to call it for today, and then get back to this tomorrow. Maybe. I might just go ahead and install the flywheel and the bell housing, while I'm out here. I don't really want to do that though, just because I know it's going to start like rusting and corroding. All right, so next day, I got the garage door closed because it's starting to lose daylight pretty quickly. I just got home from work like half an hour ago, and it's already dark outside. So I got the starter. So I got an MSD. So this is the Dynaforce starter. This is supposed to be like a high output one. And then I got my flywheel here. So I've got a Fidenza lightweight flywheel. It's all clean and fancy. So what I don't have is the mounting hardware for this. So we can put the flywheel on, but we can't mount it. So I was trying to install this, but we have run into, once again, another problem. So this being aluminum and it being cold outside, and that being steel and it being cold outside, means that there's an interference fit right now. So I'm gonna have to heat this up, which means I'm probably just gonna set it on top of like a cast iron or something that's hot, and then heat this up just enough to get it to slip over that. And then once I do that, it'll cool down, and then hopefully it shouldn't move too much. But then the second problem is that I do not have any mounting bolts for it. So there's none of my ARP kit. Didn't come with any in here, or if it did, I don't know where they are. Now once I do that, I can put the bell housing on, and then I can attach the starter. I'm gonna get this heated up just a little bit, but because it's gonna end up being an interference fit on there, I'm not super concerned about the fasteners at the moment, so I can just go get some of those at the store tomorrow. Alright, so that was kind of toasty, but it's on there. It's lined up. Oh, I can't really see it so well. It's lined up pretty close. I might have to try and take a torch to it and shimmy it around a little bit. So it looks like I think these two are the only ones that are off. The rest of them look like they're pretty good. Alright, so that's on there now. That'll cool down, and it'll be a shrink fit on the crank. Now, I could put the starter on here. Oh, real quick though, pro tip: don't use a dirty cast iron to heat up your flywheel. My house smells like smoke, and I can't breathe in there now. So, fortunately, this one comes with some hardware, so I'll throw that up there real quick. Alright, so I got the starter and the flywheel on now. Might have to realign the starter just a little bit, but fortunately it's adjustable, so I can just take this out and then just move it down one. Should be fine. So now I'm going to clean this mating surface here up, and I'm going to put the bell housing back on it. Actually, no, I don't think I'm going to put the bell housing on it. I don't really need it. It doesn't need to be on there to start it. What I do need though is these bolts, which I will get tomorrow. But for now, we can cross a couple things off of our list here. So we're not doing the bell housing, but we did do flywheel starter. So as they say, progress is progress. So now I need a tensioner. I do need the flywheel bolts. I mean, for right now, it's probably going to be it. Another thing I need to do is I need to block off these heater core lines. It's kind of upsetting that this flywheel didn't come with hardware. Maybe it did, and I just put it with my clutch. My instructions for my clutch are in here, so it's possible. I can go check real quick, but I'm gonna probably save the wiring for last. So I think the next thing we're gonna do is gonna take a bunch of my steel metal. I got some scrap metal in a bucket over there. Then I also have some various bits and pieces over here that I can use. We're gonna try and make a mount for the oil tank. Don't really know how I'm gonna do that, but I'm sure I'll think of something. What I'm gonna do is get a bunch of steel, and then I'm just gonna make a bracket. It's coming off of here, coming up like this or something, or I might go grab one of my headers real quick. Might just have it come up this way, and then we're gonna make a bracket for the oil tank. So I did get some more argon, so we do got that, but I'm just gonna It's just a little quick little bracket. So what I'm probably going to do is just use some of this 1-inch square tube. What is this? This is 16th inch thing? I don't know. And then just going to stick weld it on there. So take a wire brush or wire wheel to this, to the base. Probably put a 45 degree on there. My fan on my super dirty shelf. Also 12 valve. So probably have it just come off like so. I'll probably put a straight on there about here or so, and then just have it come straight up. That way I can just zip tie the oil tank to it. So I'm gonna get these cut. Our quick sidebar, since I'm over here and I haven't forgotten yet, but this is the glove box from the Hudson. As you can see, it is made from paper, and it is also about 80 years old. Still in pretty good shape. I could just clean it up and use it again, but I kind of want to make one out of metal. So I was thinking probably titanium. That would be really cool, but also kind of expensive. Or, because nobody's ever going to see it, just do stainless or just some like aluminum or something. What do you guys think? Titanium, stainless, aluminum? No, let me know. Alright, so we got the piece cut. So I'm just going to clean a space off right there probably. That looks good. Oh, I cut the thing on the wrong side. That needs to go the other way. Alright, crisis averted. So once again, I'm going to stick it probably right about there-ish. And then we got the side going straight up. So we're going to take that other piece, which is somewhere around here. And then that is going to go straight up from there. And then that'll give us something to attach the oil tank to. Then we can start writing all the lines and everything. Alright, so I got a bunch of these Lithin 6018 rods, or not 6018, 6013. I've got some 7018, but they're much thicker, and that's kind of overkill for this application. So just gonna tack this in place if I can find. I can't wait to get roasted by the internet welders for that one. So it's been about 2 hours. As you can see, this bracket is now bolted to the cylinder head as opposed to being welded to the frame down here. Turns out, I don't know how to weld. Big shocker. Very good when it comes to electricity, just in general, as it turns out. So, bolted this to here. It's on there. Pretty firm, or pretty solid. And then this is kind of torqued down. This one's just here to keep it from rotating, because I didn't really want to go through the effort of finding where that hole was and then just drilling 2 holes in here. Wouldn't have been too terribly difficult, but I didn't really want to do it. This was just a lot easier. I was already kind of dissuaded from the fact that my my previous attempt did not work very well. Anyway, so it's kind of disappointing. Didn't get to make any more progress, but you know, progress is in fact progress, and the bracket is now on there. So the next couple of days we'll probably do the oil lines. I got to figure out the turbo bypass thing. Oh, I also got the flywheel bolts. You can do that. Get a tensioner, and then I think probably Friday or Saturday I might try doing the base tune on the ECU and the screen. Try and get those done, because I can just do those inside. Might also try doing the bracket for the ignition, for the coils. Plumb the oil system. Might attach the exhaust headers, just because. It's kind of disappointing I didn't make any more progress today. It's starting to get it's dark out, and kind of upset. So I'm just gonna call it for today before I actually break something. I will see you guys in see you in a minute. I do have a solution for the turbo drain plumbing. So I called Daily, and they said just plumb it up to the valve cover So we're just gonna have to like drill a hole and then get a line that comes up to here. So that way it gets a little bit of oil in there, and the turbo portion of it is gonna be happy. But for now, we're gonna move our attention to doing the coil brackets. So here I've got the MSD LS coil ignition. These are supposed to be the upgraded ones. These are quite a bit chunkier than the OEM ones. And then I got a random piece of steel that we're gonna bolt them to, just like that. And then just see if I can't get 4 on the side, and then arbitrarily number them 1 to 8. So I got a drill bit, which I think is the right size. It's a little bit bigger, it should work. And then I got my failing drill out still. It's drilling holes, but poorly. So what I'm gonna do now, take this off, line these up, try and find some way to mark a line on there. I forgot to set up the camera, but I got the first set of holes drilled now. So now we're just gonna take these bolts, and then we're just gonna bolt these in, see what happens. Alright, so this is gonna work, but unfortunately I don't have any nuts for these. So we're just gonna have to go get some. So I'm gonna go inside and try and set up the ECU, just to see how that goes. I have no idea how it's gonna work, but I would imagine it's gonna probably walk me through it. Might try and see if I can't do anything with the screen also. So I will see you guys once I get that done, and then I get some nuts for these coils. Alright guys, so it's been a couple of days. Starting to get kind of annoyed with the filming thing, and then I started getting frustrated with all the stuff that's still has to be done. And I ended up just doing a whole bunch of stuff off camera. So I don't remember where I left off last time, so I will just start somewhere and then I'll just edit out whatever. So we got the coils mounted on the bracket. It is incredibly ugly. I don't like it, but it's there and it'll work. So I don't have the coil wires or the cables, plug wires yet. So once those get here, this is gonna have to get relocated anyway, because the ones I got are like the stock ones. So they're gonna come up to here to like here. So this is gonna have to change. Or next, I got the oil tank mounted. It's just zip tied off to this post here. Then I cut it down a little bit. I started the plumbing, and right now I've only got this one line on here. I was going to have this one plumbed as well, but the line that I had wasn't long enough to actually make it to this top one. Plus I needed a 90 AN fitting, so I've got those on order. They don't ship until tomorrow, so they should be here Wednesday-ish. Next, so I put the exhaust headers on and the starter. So when I first put the starter on, so this is a MSD Dynaforce, so it's adjustable, it's position adjustable. It's got 3 different positions here. So when I first put it on, it was here in the middle, and it was contacting the #1 runner right there. You can kind of see where I dented it a little bit. And then, so I took this off and then moved it up one, which moved the body inward. And now we've got plenty of clearance and the gear lines up. So we're all good there. Headers are on. All right, as for the tensioner, so I got this one. This one came off of a 2003 Corvette. So I still have the original truck one that came with this engine, because this was a complete engine. I just took it apart and then replaced pretty much everything. So that one was out much farther. It was up to about here. So I had to go and get one that was shorter so that would fit on there. Now the tensioner, the balancer, the water pump, the idler, and the alternator are all in line with each other. So that's good. So I can measure out for a belt. Next thing I got to do is the fuel lines and mount the fuel tank. Just gonna go there on the back. But that's it for right now. Kind of at a standstill at the moment, because waiting on parts. But we can't come over here, cross off a couple of different stuff. So the turbo stage bypass, once again, I think I said that I called Daily Solutions, and they said just to route it to the valve cover. Oil tank's been mounted. The oil tank bracket's been made. Still doing the plumbing. Starter's on. Flywheel's on. I idler tensioner alternators on. I added fuel, because obviously we need fuel to run an engine. So we need to mount the tank and then run the fuel lines. Ignition stuff, I'm waiting on the coils, on the wires. Exhaust headers are done. I had to dimple it to clear the starter, and then I realized I can just relocate it. Sort of, kind of don't really need an intake filter, but also kind of do. And then I blocked out, or lined out all this stuff, because none of this is required to actually get it to start. Coolant is on here, but you don't need coolant to start an engine. You need it to keep it running. You don't need it to start it. So that's where we're at right now. I will get back to you in a couple of days once all of that stuff has come in. And then we can make some more progress. I got the remaining fittings. I'm pretty sure I got the remaining fittings. The only one that I'm missing is going to be the dash 10 for the valve cover. So because the one that I ordered was steel and I need it to be aluminum. But other than that, I've got everything here. I've got some dash 10, some dash 16 AN lines. I got these two pre-made ones. These are both dash 10. I got this dash 16 fitting for the oil tank return. I got the cap for the other one. And then I got these ones. I think this is the dash 12 for the oil filter. I got another dash 8. I don't remember what that's for. And then I got another 8 and a 12. So I think we're probably going to do the hardest one of these first, which is going to be this cap here. We're just going to put that on right there. Okay. Alright, so now that the hardest one is done, I think the first one I'm going to do is going to be this return line. So this is going to come off of right here, and then it's going to come all the way up to right here. Or this line made up, and then we're going to move on to the next one, which I think is going to be this oil filter line, which goes around to the other side of the block. So we need our dash 16, which I put on the bottom because I didn't think I'd need it first. Alright, so to do these lines, they're not hard, just got to take them apart. Alright, so it just unscrews like this. It's just two pieces. And this is not PTFE, this is just standard braided line. But you're just going to take your cap, and then this is going to just fit here on top. I found it's a lot easier that sometimes when you put it on here to just reverse thread it, because that seems to pull it. Because on the inside here, there's this little flange at the top that you want the hose to sit on. So you're just going to take your other side, and then you're just going to put it in there. Clean up the threads first a little bit, and you're just going to thread it in. Once it gets hands tight, you can take a wrench. This is not an AN wrench, this is just a weird looking Ford wrench. But you're going to put that on there. It's a lot easier to do this if you have a vise or, you know, two properly sized AN wrenches. I don't have either of those, so just going to tighten this up by hand. It is the hard way. Alright, so I got both sides on here. Using the steel on these aluminum fittings does tend to mark them up, so if you're going for looks, you can order the AN wrenches or use some kind of soft jaw wrenches. I obviously don't have those, and I'm not super concerned about aesthetics. My main concern here is that these hold fluid. So got this one on, so we're gonna go ahead and get this hooked up to the can. All right, so I think it's gonna be easier to go from the pump first, and this line is obviously like memory formed, so you kind of have to fight it a little bit, or a lot in my case. Alright, so that's on there. Starting to look a lot more like a race car engine now. Alright, so the next one, I think we're going to try doing the oil filter line, because that's the last one I can do, because obviously I don't have the correct AN fitting for the turbo side for the oil filter. So obviously we got our oil filter. I've got a System 1. This is a driver's side mount. So our outlet is over here on the other side of the block. Let me grab one of these lines. Alright, so our outlet is right there. So that's going to come underneath this exhaust, and then we're going to route it to the other side of the block somehow. I'm going to have to find some place to mount this also. But it's essentially just going to sit like this, basically. Look at that. It's a perfect fit. I need to find a nut now to keep this still. I got the oil filter plumbed up. I actually was able to make it fit here on the frame rail. It's almost like it was made to sit there. Obviously this is not going to be its permanent location, but it needs to be upright for it to work properly. So I was able to get it to route up and over. It was a lot easier to do when I didn't have the when I wasn't holding the camera. And then for this line, I didn't even measure it out. I just put the fitting on the end of it. I just connected it, and then I was like, let me just run this over here. And then it ended up fitting. So that worked out pretty well. So that's hooked up. So oil filter's hooked up. So our first stage is good. Our inlet is good, and then our outlet is also good. The only thing left that we got to do is the turbo drain, or is the turbo off of the valve cover. But in order to do that, I need the fitting to actually weld into the valve cover, which I don't have because I ordered a steel one. So I think I'm gonna end the video here for now. So I got the two water things here. Obviously, I got to block off the heater core. We've also got to do the fuel system, which is going to be the next video on this. So I've got the fuel tank inside. I'm gonna put it there in the back. But that's all I've got for now. I will see you in the next one.